Hi everyone, it's great to have you all online. We've got many participants today and I'm very grateful that you all could make it. We're waiting for some other participants to log in. However, as we only have 30 minutes, let's get it started. My name is Jeroen and I will be one of the presenters for this webinar. Here at Skim Fieldwork, we're widely recognized as a leading specialist in healthcare-related fieldwork in the Netherlands. Today is no exception. We'll be sharing a great story about conducting market research amongst patients. I hope we will be able to inspire you all today and provide you with valuable input on conducting market research with patients. A little bit about myself. I'm working for almost 8 years for Skim now, after graduating with a master's degree in marketing management. Since the early beginning, I am involved in qualitative medical market research in the Netherlands. I am joined by Janneke, who joined the fieldwork team as a research executive after graduating with a master's degree in business administration and a bachelor's degree in cultural anthropology. Since joining, Janneke has coordinated and executed qual research in various areas, including a lot of moderation. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar panel. We will bring them up at the end of the presentation, or if you run out of time, we'll contact you afterwards. Now I will hand over to Janneke, who will tell you all about patient research.
Now, more than ever, healthcare companies consider patients to be a great source of relevant insights. We've experienced a remarkable increase in the patient project work we have conducted in the past years, mainly because of the increased importance of shared decision-making between patients and healthcare professionals. We have had patients and caregivers being meaningfully engaged in different types of market research at all stages: pilots, main research, presentation of the results, immersion sessions, etc. This experience and knowledge enables us to better serve our clients and thus also your clients in the area of patient research. Let's now talk about patient research. Patient research isn't always easy. Let me give you some real-life examples. What if you worked for weeks to recruit a respondent, but days before an interview your patient passes away or is too sick to participate? Or what if your respondent is so overcome with the emotion during an in-depth interview that you end up consoling someone rather than asking the questions in your discussion guide? These are scenarios that regularly come up in medical market research, which is why it is often referred to as a niche area and needs special attention. Researchers tend to think that it is complex and overwhelming, especially when it involves patients. Clients are often seeking insights from patients with sensitive stories, male conditions such as erectile dysfunction, female conditions such as breast reconstruction, or severe illnesses like paralysis or cancer. Those stories can be heartbreaking and intense, and as a result, the level of depth and emotional impact can be overwhelming for both the patient and the researcher, to the point where it can jeopardize the objectives and the continuation of the research. It's a continued balance between taking the time to make the patient feel heard versus making sure all questions in the guide are discussed within the allocated time. Today, I'm excited to share with you our most valuable insights around patient research. From the study design to screening and recruiting to moderation, Skim's broad understanding of the entire research process, including our understanding of research design, will help you get the most out of patient fieldwork. And with our broad experience, we are uniquely positioned to understand your client's research objective. We add value by calibrating our recruitment effort and moderation approach to fit your study design. And our consultative approach gets the most out of patient respondents and gets your clients maximum insights. Now, let's start at the beginning, namely the study design. We often notice a disconnect between the study design and the type of respondents requested. Consider your target group and try and visualize them and their participation in relation to your methodology and techniques. You will then realize that the success of your approach very much depends on your target group. Our researchers can help you optimize your study design to create the best fit with your patient population. Here's a few things to keep top of mind the next time you are in the design phase. First of all, how mobile are your patients? This question will guide you in deciding upon the methodology. Is it a good approach to organize interviews in CL, or should you maybe consider a different approach in order to minimize respondents' physical efforts? Maybe consider online alternatives for central location interviews. Central location interviews are a very valuable source for information because of the in-person interaction, and they are regularly the preferred option by moderators, clients, and patients. However, when the total universe is limited, patients are geographically far apart or unable to travel, central location research will heavily impact the sample size we can recruit. Today's online alternatives are very sophisticated. Patients can be at a computer for a phone interview and see your stimuli, use a webcam so that you and the clients can see them, or they can do an online survey. But if a CO is necessary, we encourage you to stay open and flexible in your approach. If the respondent cannot make it to the central location, a moderator can join them at home and live stream the interview to you and your client. There are many creative ways of making sure an online interview can be as valuable as the central location experience. Also keep in mind how sensitive is the research topic. Does your research involve sensitive topics such as erectile dysfunction, urinary incontinence, or constipation? Depending on the objectives and the expected output, we recommend choosing an online discussion in the form of an online bulletin board rather than organizing focus groups or face-to-face interviews. We have learned that this helps create an open atmosphere and enables patients to discuss their condition, frustrations, and their needs without losing face. Also, think twice about the gender of your moderator. For instance, having a male moderator discuss postpartum urinary incontinence with female patients might actually lead to richer insights, as the female patient cannot assume that the moderator knows the details, causing the patient to be more elaborate and precise without the moderator needing to prompt. And lastly, keep in mind, what is a patient's relationship with the future? If you want to keep respondents engaged throughout and avoid distress, carefully choose the techniques you use, especially those involving future thinking or abstract projective techniques. Patients often struggle accepting or dealing with their illness, and having them think of what the future could bring could be challenging and confrontational. Be emphatic and realize that for some patients the future is very unsure. This could mean that they may choose not to answer your questions. Generally, patients want to be considered by healthcare companies when new products are being developed, information packs are being created, and they're usually keen to give feedback about their experience of patient support. They're eager to share their experiences and ideas and have someone value their opinions. So how do we find the right patients and how do we ensure their participation? First of all, keep your screener relevant. At SCIM, we simplified recruitment by working with patient profiles rather than lengthy screeners. As we all know, recruitment hasn't exactly gotten simpler over the years. For example, in contrast to many other countries, in our market, it's not so common anymore to recruit through physicians. The Dutch guidelines for market research, for example, demands that when recruiting patients through physicians, we first send an invitation in writing and then ask the practitioner to hand over a letter to the patient detailing this research. And at the end, we have to ensure that we leave initiating contact between the agency and the respondent up to the patients. In reality, physicians are extremely busy and they are less keen or interested in referring market research agencies to patients due to these regulations. It's a lengthy process with a low success rate. This is the more practical point of view. But also imagine you are a patient suffering from cancer. You receive a call from a recruiter and you spend almost 10 minutes on the phone answering 15 questions. And after question 15 about the drugs you are familiar with, you hear, "Yeah, thanks for your time. Unfortunately, you do not qualify for this project." How would you feel about this if it was you we had on the phone? Especially as we all know screening criteria will be adapted during the recruitment many times. What would you feel if you were rejected first, but then were begged to come back because the client decided to be more flexible in the quota? Would you still believe you were the right candidate for the study and be eager to participate? This is the main reason for our team to set out a solution that should help us save time and avoid these kinds of situations. To get around this, SCIM has found new ways to reach out to and recruit patients. We have learned that searching for patients in just one database or network is not sufficient. Therefore, we involve multiple recruiters and panels active in different areas, both healthcare and consumer panels. To facilitate this multi-channel recruitment, we recommend working with patient profiles rather than lengthy screeners. We help you build concise but effective profiles, focusing on 3 main screening criteria, ensuring quick results and a high-quality respondents. Here are 2 recent examples of used patient profiles, when we helped our client turn their 7 pages lengthy screener into a very effective profile, shortening our recruitment period by days. The first example is a male or female suffering from high cholesterol who experienced a heart attack in the past 2 years and is familiar with PCSK9 inhibitors. Our second example is a male or female suffering from rheumatoid arthritis who is currently on a biological treatment and has changed treatment for RA in the past 3 months. So to summarize, patient profiles are time efficient and help target the right respondents without having to go through lengthy screeners only to eventually find out that the patient does not match the profile. Additionally, a short recruitment profile enables and activates patients to tell us about potential respondents from their own networks. Patients are often in touch with other fellow sufferers through support groups, word of mouth, and other forums. Secondly, once we've found our respondents, the challenge is to ensure that they stay committed. At SCIM, we manage patients' expectations concerning participation in the study, starting as soon as we first contact potential respondents. We have learned that this helps recruitment, minimizes the dropout rate, and ensures data quality. The Dutch guidelines for market research provide clear-cut advice on the basics of managing expectations. The invitation should be informative, clear, and well-structured, and should include all details regarding the goal of the research and the ways the data will be used and stored. At SCIM, we go the extra mile. We know that patients have little to no experience participating in previous market research, what makes this step of additional importance. During our screening process, we take the time to explain exactly what participation will entail, using this time to inform and connect them with the patient, gaining insights long before we even interview them. And why is this so important? Engaging the patient with the purpose of the study and getting their buy-in minimizes the dropout rate while also laying the foundation for gaining deeper insights through the research itself. Patients really appreciate understanding the way that they can be of help. At SCIM, we are uniquely positioned to guide you in your decisions regarding the study design, recruitment, and moderation. We foster the development of our project managers to help them grow into experienced researchers and moderators. So our team typically manages recruitment and moderates interviews and has the knowledge to advise you early on in the project, so during the setup phase, on finding the right balance between your target group, your methodology, and your research goals. Having the same person to see the process through and consult from a personal experience is one of the things our clients love about working with our team. Now, all in all, recruitment is an important part of the research, but we all know that while recruitment might work out just fine, it is the moderator who makes or breaks your study. The quality of the data and the input that you finally get depends on how skillful and knowledgeable your moderator is. To build out success on the foundation laid during the setup and recruitment phase takes a skillful, emphatic, and knowledgeable moderator. Our moderators create the right context, enabling them to access the patient's story and gain deeper insights. At SCIM, we train our moderators on the importance of empathy and timing. And let me tell you why those aspects in particular are so important. A skillful moderator shows empathy and helps patients engage in a discussion. Our moderators are compassionate and are good listeners by trade. Throughout an interview, they continually work on creating the proper context for respondents to feel comfortable about sharing details about their condition. This will ultimately result in patients being more involved and cooperative throughout the discussion and makes them more likely to want to engage in research in the future. So how do our moderators show empathy and connect with patients? On the one hand, they do so by listening, and on the other hand, by communicating. So we listen to the story by allowing silence to fall so that the patient can take a deep breath, compose themselves, and or dry their tears, as these issues can often be emotionally sensitive. At the same time, skipping questions that patients find difficult to answer may also help. And lastly, simply informing patients that they can take as many breaks as they feel comfortable, letting them feel that they are not pressed for time. We also communicate on the patient's level by using an approachable tone to make them feel at ease, and by avoiding use of difficult words or abstract terms that patients might not be familiar with but find difficult to admit. This could lead to participants feeling insecure, whereby you jeopardize the rapport you build up, as well as improperly or unanswered questions. If you need to use difficult terms, make sure you clearly explain the right meaning. It's always good to check if the term is familiar first. You don't want to come across as patronizing. Now, as mentioned earlier, the researcher who develops a discussion guide has an important role in helping to create the context to gain deeper insights by allocating time in the guide for the moderator and patients to connect. Good patient research requires time to build rapport and listen to the story that changed the patient's life. Most discussion guides allocate 5 minutes for this. At SCIM, we recommend structuring your discussion guide a little differently, with at least 10 minutes to focus on rapport building. That's not lost time. In fact, it doesn't even require you to increase the total time of an interview. A good moderator will use this time to connect and access a patient's story. This will create the context needed to achieve deep insights. It will motivate the patient to provide the valuable spontaneous information and need less prompting in the end, ultimately providing more structure in the interview. So why is storytelling so important to patients? Because some conditions are extremely life invasive, and patients participating in an interview specifically addressing their condition will not be able to avoid talking about the impact of their condition on their life. You could think of it as a natural need that patients have to share their personal story and vent their feelings. Secondly, storytelling is important because patients regard their participation as a chance to share their perspective based on their own experience on ways the services, drugs, or products they rely on could be improved. Many patients view their participation helps the scientific developments in the area, and frequently they feel the information they provide ultimately helps other patients. We have learned that when we do not allocate sufficient time for storytelling, it will happen anyway, often at last preferable moments during an interview, which eventually means that the moderator has less time to dig deeper on important research-relevant questions or has to force questions at the expense of connection with the patient. So setting time apart in the discussion guide for storytelling to take place helps in creating the natural opportunity for the moderator to find the openings during the conversations and to probe and research relevant questions. SCIM's two-in-one approach combining recruitment and moderations mean we invest in connecting with the respondent while recruiting, allowing us to get first insights on the best moderation approach. A discussion guide which allows for some focus on rapport building will help us build on that connection and ultimately get you better results. Our project managers are fieldwork experts, as well as experienced moderators and researchers. This allows us to take a consultative approach to your fieldwork requests. Our team can help you create the perfect balance between your study design, the fieldwork, and your research goals, adding value every step of the way and ultimately helping your client gain optimal insights. Using patient profiles, we get you quality respondents quick, and with our personal approach, we ensure engaged patients and a deep understanding of the patient experience. And now I hand over to Jeroen for any questions we might have gotten.
Yes, thanks, Janneke. I see we received a lot of questions. I'm not sure if we can discuss them all, so let's start with a couple of them. The first question we received, what are the limitations of projective methodologies with patients? To be honest, there are not that much limitations I can think of when using projective methodologies with patients. In fact, what I noted in the past years is that those type of exercises are actually easier for patients as for healthcare professionals. Usually patients are really open-minded and they are really open for the more creative exercises. So no real limitations as far as I can see. The second question, patient referrals with GDPR market-specific regulations. First of all, at SCIM, we are fully GDPR compliant. For our patient recruitment, we actually never work with referrals via healthcare professionals, so there's no issue here. If patients refer a friend or a family member to us, we always make sure that they contact us and not the other way around. The third question we received, what is the best way to access patients in different markets across Europe? That's a very, very interesting question. I have asked myself the same question several times already, to be honest. As our main focus is on the Netherlands, I cannot advise on best ways to access patients in other countries across Europe. However, I guess best practices may vary by country, but it will mainly include referrals via healthcare professionals, snowballing, patient associations, recruiters, and panels. The fourth question, could you tell me a bit more about the profile recruitment Janneke was talking about? Yes, I can. Bottom line is to keep the profile as short as possible. So it should consist of 2 or 3 essential screening criteria, a kind of a brief but clear description of the patient you are looking for. Keep it short, not longer than 2 lines. It's therefore crucial that you know the target, that you know the type of patients you finally want to interview. Once you have finalized the profile and defined a clear research objective, different types of recruiters are being used to support us in recruitment, as at SCIM we do not have our own patient panel. Recruiters can match respondent profiles from their database. They can find respondent profiles via other channels such as social media, social networking sites. They are able to make a soft pre-selection first, and after that, the target group is presented with the profile. And next to that, patients can also refer other patients they know and who are matching the short profile to us, which also helps us a lot in recruitment. I answered all questions we have now. So thanks all for attending this webinar. We'll be sending around the slides of a recording of today's sessions to you, and we hope to see you again in our next webinar.